China trying to build a huge firewall and switch off internet from people, but they still use VPN and other technologies to find exploits in this.
So today you were talking about the trends in cryptocurrency. So it's such a big and vast industry. So what trends are we seeing on the blockchain?
I think the most important trend for now it's ideological hard fork. It's about some kind of split in industry to one regulated field where governments and banks will operate, and unregulated field. I call it alternative economy. And the third place, it's dark net, where people will proceed to use exploits of regulated fields and exploits and innovations from alternative economy. Such example, my friend lives in Lithuania, and they have border with Belarus. So each day people there can see how drone flies from Belarus to Lithuania with cigarettes. Because in Belarus cigarettes cost very cheap, and in Lithuania it costs like everywhere in the European Union. So it's like smugglers, drone smugglers. So it's a bright example, I think. So, okay.
So looking at each of those, so first of all, looking at the regulations of cryptocurrencies, like you mentioned, so is it the case that you'll see certain cryptocurrencies being regulated before others, and what risks does that give for certain cryptocurrencies?
I see no risks from regulations, because people who really needs this regulation, it's as usual big investors, companies, banks, people with huge money. So they need to understand how to buy, how to pay taxes, etc. And people who don't want to operate in a regulated field, I think, they will operate at now without any regulation. It's not a problem. Because cryptocurrency is stuff you can't just close it. It's impossible. We can see that China trying to build a huge firewall and switch off internet from people, but they still use VPN and other technologies to find exploits in this.
And do you think, we spoke about government officials regulating and also the dark web, if cryptocurrencies do become regulated, do you think that will lose a lot of its appeal? Do you think a lot of the appeal is the fact that they're not government controlled, and that's something that's a real interest to investors?
I think that's the first thing that will go after regulation. It's market capitalization will grow up, because big money will find a way to buy Bitcoin, to buy other cryptocurrencies, to invest in this ecosystem. And so it's like win-win for everybody, because after governments regulate this industry, people who operate in unregulated fields, they will understood what they should not to do, something like that, I think.
And you spoke about China trying to build a firewall around cryptocurrencies, and cryptocurrencies have been really resilient to this. They've not really been affected. So do you think that going forward, 2018 will be the bigger year for cryptocurrencies? Is this going to keep growing?
The key reason of this situation in China is I hope we will never see the civil war in China because of Bitcoin. I really hope. I really hope that it's never will be, but provinces in China very incentivized to host mining farms, Bitcoin mining farms in their territory, on their territory. And it's first milestone, first reason of this all problems with Bitcoin in China. So what about ICO? We should understand that in China there are too much ICO already passed. And never can heard about these ICOs in China because it's internal market and it's internal token sales. So I think that there are too much scams in Chinese ICO market. So that's why they're trying to do something with that.
And do you think it's realistic that something can be solved with the Chinese government and cryptocurrencies? Do you think it's something that will be a constant problem?
No, no, I don't see any problem because, yeah, they can try to regulate, they try to forbid something. But cryptocurrencies, it's about technology. You can't forbid this stuff. It's impossible, technically impossible. They can do everything they want. They can just, for example, yes, they can push down these new waves of believers in cryptocurrencies because they will be afraid to come in crypto. But I don't think that it's a conceptual problem.
Great. And finally, the last question. So do you have any price forecasts for some of the cryptocurrencies for next year? So for example, Ethereum, Bitcoin, do you have any future outlooks for them?
More and more. Yes, it's just my price prediction.
And how high do you imagine Bitcoin going? Do you imagine it going to 10,000 eventually in 2018, 5,000? What do you think?
I don't know. After 2020, I just don't care about money.